Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you had a restful lunch. I'm sorry, I don't speak French. I will try to offer you the best English I can. I'm Italian, live in Spain, so if you hear some weird accent, it's because of my traveling and living all over the world. So, we know that also because of all the fuss and article came out yesterday on Twitter, that Google, from a long time already, before COVID in 2019, practically started to use this model, the messy middle model, formally because they say it's a best way of reflecting how people really search things on the web. And in business model for Google, it's also because so that zero-click SERPs means that people stay on Google, see more ads, and eventually click on ads. Anyway, it's a fact. What can we do? What can we do to avoid people to stay always in the exploration evaluation phase, which is on Google, and to make them go and land on our website? The secret, not so secret, is, let's say, objective. The purpose is optimizing our strategy in order to be visible all along the potential search journeys inside Google. Because so we have a chance between many to have a click on our website. And how can we do it? Obviously, usually when we work on a strategy, we start with an audience analysis. And classic is interviewing focus groups with real people. But imagine that we have, for instance, a multilingual or multi-country website, and we should multiply all this work for all these versions, for instance. And it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time, and not all clients can do it. And not so simple to do an audience analysis that really is able to target all the potential journeys, search journeys on Google. But there is one thing that knows everything about our audience, because it's also their audience. And with more than 8 billion searches per day, it's Google, the one that can really tell us what our audience wants, and so what we should prioritize in our strategy. I'm doing an example, as you saw in my short video. I'm really passionate about mini painting. Let's take that we are a website. It's not about atomic. This is a real website. It's not going to be, it's based as a fictional case study. It's not my client, but I take it as an example. Let's say that we are targeting this game, which is a wonderful game, tabletop game, and we want to understand what are the search journeys of the people interested about this game, so we can target them. First thing that we need to observe when opening a SERP is the search menu. Why? The search menu is always not interesting for us, and it's a mistake. If you notice, for every SERP, the order of items in the search menu is different. Why? Because the search menu tries to respond to the potential intention of a search. In this case, Star Wars Legion, which seems to be a product name or a brand name, it's actually, we can understand that the main intent is transactional, because we have shopping. And the kind of format, this is also an information that the search menu gives us, is the content should not be really text content. We should prioritize visual content like image or a video description of a product and so on. But this is just an hint of what I'm going to do and present you. We see here below the topic filter. The topic filter is how Google generates this, because these are based on this analysis of searches that Google has. So he says, okay, if someone is starting with a search journey with Star Wars Legion or any other query, I present him potential ways to refine the query without him to type it. So we have faction, we have rules, we have discontinued, we have official website, and as you can see, the topic filter works like people also ask. If you click on a topic filter, you are going to see another SERP, that for Google is another way to show new ads. But for us, it's interesting because we see other topic filters. So we can create a sort of journey, a first path of a journey. And just analyzing this really fast, we can start having a clue of this journey. So we can understand that people usually use this, starting from Star Wars Legion, maybe are doing generic navigational searches, but also maybe they are searching something more specific, so that's why I call it taxonomy. Star Wars Legion, maybe they are searching for specific faction about the rules, the main table starter set game, and so on. Or maybe they are searching for more transactional information, like what are the news release, what are the minis that are discontinued, so they will need to find them on eBay or some other places. What are the cheapest ones? What are the models? As I was telling you, the topic filter works like people also ask, so you can go and discover more things. Obviously, as I was telling you before, to each topic filter corresponds a query. So we can see exactly what is the query that Google is considering for that topic filter. We record it in our Excel or sheet and for a future use of it. A good idea here is also to eventually take notice of a Google Suggest. Not for creating one content for Google Suggest, but as a way to create a critical mass of information in terms of queries that we can use after for creating a taxonomy and doing entity and keyword analysis. Pay attention that a recent addition for topic filter is also now available for forums. This can be a really interesting information for when we need to understand what kind of informational search journey people are doing. So what are the things that people usually discuss into forums, specialized forum, which is for me the best feature of this vertical, more than knowing that people go to Reddit, because we already know how Reddit is really pushed by Google. But anyways, taking information also from real forum for the niche, like Board Game Geek. Another feature that nobody is really paying attention to, but exists substantially since when I started to do SEO, are the related searches. And it's a pity, because as the topic filter, they are created based on the analysis of how people search about a topic. So, substantially, mapping them, we are mapping all the potential search journeys people are doing and potentially are doing inside Google. So this is really a way to the, in the video games, when you have strategic video games and you start in a place and there is a lot of fog of war that you have to discover. All this analysis is quitting this fog of war. When it comes to international SEO, because I am an international SEO, obviously we have to do this analysis, not just using google.com in English. We have to do this kind of analysis for all the versions we are targeting. For instance, in the French one, it's interesting that a specific search journey is the last one, Star Wars Legion Decor, because it seems to suggest that the French people in this kind of games are interested about dioramas and battlefield. So how to create and personalize the battlefield of a game, which is not so common, not so present in the other region. With addition of SGE, using the follow-up is a good way to start also exploring the potential conversational search that makes people stay inside SGE, but as we will see in a few slides, in other environments like this. The SEG and the follow-up question are at the bottom of the SEG feature, and they work like people also ask. You click, you have another SEG feature with other questions and so on. Here is not really to record all the questions, which is one reason, but also to start seeing what are the questions that tends to be repeated reproposed by Google, because this is a really simple way to statistically understand what are the most common questions, so the one that should be prioritized. And for instance, why I suggest to use SGA follow-up? Because it uncovers topics and facets of our subject that the other features like topic filter, related searches, etc., 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 are not revealing us. For instance, everything related to how to prepare these minis that are included in the game. That you have to mount, you have to assemble them, you have to paint them, and so people are asking how we assemble them, what we have to use to paint them, etc., etc., etc. So all this kind of practical informational content that you have to present also on your website in order to satisfy this need. Perplexity, going out a little bit from Google, even if Perplexity actually uses Google as a source. Perplexity is even a better way than SGE to find this information. It works. If you have used Perplexity, and I think so, you know that to one question it proposes 3 other questions, and then for that question, 3 other questions, and so on. This is the, let's say, the free version of Perplexity, and it's good because, as you can see, we can start having interesting clues about deeper insights of a game, and so about content we should create and target. But the best use of Perplexity using the Pro version, which was once the Copilot version, because it also allows us to investigate YouTube or Reddit, not only search. And this is really cool because if you see it here, for instance, Perplexity already categorized the types of information that we are looking for, potentially looking for. So this is a good way to point us, for us to point these things, because these things are, let's say, our main voices in eventual potential menu or in our starting base of a taxonomy. And it's also interesting to see how it works, because as we can see from one question, we see how Perplexity rewrite the question into a factual query, into a more normal classic query, and then spit it out with another question. So this is a good way to do an alternative way to do a real keyword research, in this case for Reddit, or for YouTube, or for Google search. Another feature that Google offers us, and which is really cool, and I'm really stressing about this since it started happening to be presented in 2017, so quite many years, are the image search tags. The image search tags are entities. They are not keywords. They are name entities or attribution to the name attribution of a name entity we are searching. If you remember or you saw it, last week came out a really short video about how Google ranks things. And they say when somebody is doing a query a search on Google, the first thing we do, we identify the entities present in the query. And from there, we do all our retrieving. So these are really interesting information because the image search tags substantially give us the base for our entity search. So we should use them really, really a lot. And as you can see, again, if you are doing international SEO, the image search tags change from region to region. And they are giving us some information about what are the most important and most interesting entities for the region. For instance, in the UK, it's coming out with 3D printed, which means that many players in the UK don't really, they are interested in the official miniatures of the game, but they also like to expand the game experience printing STL files with their 3D printer at home, so to expand new armies, new heroes, new vehicles, new things to enrich the diorama. And they are also more interested in, as we can see, Kashyyyk, Scarif, Naboo. These are places where famous Star Wars battle had been held. So they are really more interested in the battle part of the game than the skirmish battle part of the game. So this is a really interesting way to understand what are the facets of the game that you should target for the UK people instead of others. There is a tool, Topically.io, which helps to do these image search tags retrieval easier. It works like people also ask, and does the same. So you don't have to manually check and click on every tag and scrape it from Google yourself. And again, recent, this is quite recent. To each tag correspond a new query. So this is also a new interesting way to obtain more keywords that usually keywords tools are not offering us. The people also ask, obviously it's a feature to use. We know how to use it, but I don't want it to use it as a way to create cluster content in this moment. I wanted just to scrape all the questions, see how they relate one to each other, and so as a way to discover new facets of a topic. Again, the question changes from country to country. And final, one other thing that we should look at when analyzing the SERPs are what are the pages that are ranking. For every market, we may target the pages that are ranking are different. This is also a way to understand how the people tend to navigate. But what is interesting is using a really nice Google sheet done by WordLift, which analyzes the entity of all the first, let's say, the first page, the top 10 ranking pages as results in the Google search, so we can see what entities these pages are targeting. So this is a way to understand, okay, if these pages are ranking and targeting these entities, probably we should also target these entities. Or if you don't want to use WordLift, an easy way is to scrape the content of ranking pages and feed the natural language cloud by Google using the API and see what are the entities that Google itself is extracting. Okay, so what do we do with all this data? Because we retrieve a lot of data. What we do is what Google is doing. We do a name entity recognition with if a quantity of data is not so big, but now we can use, for instance, with Gemini, we can use tons of tokens at once. And we start with a prompt like this. You can eventually optimize for your opportunities. So let's say, extract the name entities from the following query phrases that belong. You have to specify what are the domains these entities must be considered a part of. So Star Wars Legend, and miniature painting, because these are the domains related to our product. And you feed with a document with a list of queries. Then you have a second part and say, organize the name entities you have extracted in a table composed of 2 columns. This is a really simple prompt. You can experiment with more complex one. Table composed of 2 columns. The first one, the most indicating the most relevant domain each name entity is part of. So we saw Star Wars Legion, miniature painting. And what are the entities that pertain to the domain? And if eventually the entity is shared also by another domain. And what we obtain is something like this. We say that ChatGPT, because I use ChatGPT for this case, identify Star Wars Legion faction units, and so it's giving me all the name entity that I extracted from the queries, substantially, that I retrieved directly from Google. So these are the things that we should start talking about and eventually optimize our website in terms of taxonomy and architecture in order to target better and be understood and, within brackets, liked by Google. So it's giving us something like all the search we have done before. It's giving us physical components, faction, units, roles, gameplay, miniature painting, Star Wars universe in sense of lore. We can use API, we can use other LLMs, Anthropic, Hugging Face, Llama, Gemini. Or we can use, if we have, for instance, an account with keywords inside, we can use all the queries we have retrieved, ask keyword insight to cluster them. Why? Because what keyword insights does is substantially the same kind of job. So it clusters all the queries that are targeting the same topic in a sort of bubble. And what it says us is also what are the bubbles that are more related one to the other. So it's a good alternative if you don't want to go to the ChatGPT way, API, and so on. So now we have all this information clustered and organized, so we can start working with this. And I insist, the real optimization is not starting with optimizing the content, it's with optimizing the taxonomy of our website. But why? Because a bad taxonomy, this one on the left, will respect a good one. So unstructured versus structured is what makes the difference. Search engines are machines. They love, endlessly need structured information, which it doesn't mean just structured data, it's architecture and so on. So if we are in e-commerce, obviously we have a default taxonomy, which is the one the client is giving to us, or we have by default. So in the case of atomic mass, this is the taxonomy, but nobody's really searching for Commander. Nobody. Commander was never coming out when analyzing the SERPs, for instance. But the work we did helps us to discover new taxonomy that we can implement. So a taxonomy based on faction. So we can have a taxonomy specifying the republics, separatists, rebels, empire, etc., etc., etc. But it also gave us other taxonomy we can implement in order to help people inside our website, so great for conversion and usability, but also to better target the search journey inside Google. For instance, the nature of a game. So we have the troops, we have the heroes, we have the vehicles, the types of game we can do with Star Wars Legion. So we can do battles and we can do skirmish, but also the type of a mini. So art plastic, racing. Remember what happened to in the UK, and STL, digital ones, that you can print by yourself. Obviously, in e-commerce, would be stupid to not target also informational content. And the work we have done before, especially, remember, LLMs, perplexity, follow-up question, and so on, and people also ask, practically gave us this sort of structure of informational content, in this case for mini painting, that is practically covering everything someone may need to know or is asking about how to paint a mini. And I can tell you that it's correct because I paint mini since I was a kid. So I know what people need to know. And it's coming out really, really well. But obviously, we can expand this type of analysis for everything related to the rules, everything related to the cards, to all the elements of game playing. Remember, though, that taxonomy is not something you sculpt in marble. It's something that evolves during times because, especially for e-commerce, there are new products, new techniques, for instance, for mini painting. Some products are discontinued, which was one of the topic filter, and because of seasonality and so on. So we have to regularly update our taxonomy to be tight to what people really are searching. And again, there is the only product that can give us this information is Google Trends. Google Trends, unfortunately, I remember 2007, was 2010, when Melissa Meyer of Google told us that we are soon going to release API for Google Trends. We are still waiting, okay? So it's almost a really, really hard and difficult, really hands-on type of analysis. But this is cool. Recently, it's about 1.5 years ago, came out a tool which is ktrends.ai, which is based on Google Trends. I know really well the guys. It's not a commercial spot for them, but I really trust this tool because it really analyzes retrieve all of the information. We usually have to retrieve manually or with really weird trick from Google Trends. And it's really cool because it helps you. You connect your Google Search Console, so the tool also has information for Google Search Console, match the information of Google Search Console and Google Trends, and it's telling you for content things, for instance, about these topics that you are targeting, there is a rising trend that you should eventually cover. But it's also great for telling you, okay, you don't have anything on your site that is targeting this set of trends that are constantly recurring. So you should create something in your architecture to target these topics. And obviously, we did also, as we started with analyzing, retrieving all of the information, doing a name entity recognition, which is substantially another word for entity search, we can work also on the ontology that we are going to target. The ontology is formal description of this term as the formal representation of knowledge about a domain. In this case, can be Star Wars Legion, Star Wars, miniature painting, just to make two free examples, including the concept and the relation between the concept. So, what does it mean? That if we are creating an architecture, therefore content covering these concepts, entities. Doing a good entity search, we know the connection. What does it mean, connection in a website? How pages are linked one to each other. So this is the base to create really effective content tabs. So with pillar pages, pillar content, so not just taking, okay, this is, people also ask from which question we should target also this content and so on. That is easy. This is better because it's somehow foundational. You're creating the foundation of a good website. And also, an ontology provides schema. Here the connection is immediately. Schema information and axiom and rules for consistency. Obviously, schema is structured data. The problem is that 99% of the time people consider structured data just for the rich results. Rich results and structured data are not synonymous. We are going to miss a lot of opportunity if we consider only what Google suggests us to use for obtaining a cool, rich results. For instance, in things like web page, which is not even cited in the search gallery section of Google, article, news article, we can use the about and mention properties. What are these properties? The about is to tell via structured data, this page is about this thing, and this thing is the same thing you can see in this page of Wikipedia, for instance. So connecting the topic, the main topic of your page, to something that is in the knowledge graph. And mention is, by the way, this page also talk about these other topics which are not the most relevant for this page. With inlinks, this is a free tool of inlinks. You can practically do this kind of analysis. Unfortunately, in this moment, works just for English and for some weird reason for Portuguese. Not for French, not for Spanish, but you can do it yourself substantially. It's just adding these two types and the equivalent same as. The same as, obviously, what does inlinks usually citing something from Wikipedia. You don't have necessarily need to use Wikipedia. For instance, for everything related to Star Wars, I could have used same as href, Wikipedia, or the official website of StarWars.com, because these two websites are considered seed for the knowledge graph of Google. You can see, you can understand it, because in the knowledge graph for queries related to Star Wars, not always you see Wikipedia, you see cited as a source, StarWars.com or Wikipedia. And again, don't rely only on the suggestion recommendation that Google offers us in the official rich results guide. For instance, in the product, if you go to schema, you can specify that this product is also object of this creative work. And this creative work could be a video that someone else, for instance, a creator, did about your product. So you are substantially connecting your product page to a review, an external review by someone else who isn't you, so substantially creating a connection in the knowledge graph. And obviously, this is also cool and nice because you can do it also for reviews. So you can, sometimes we know that a review should work, as a search result should work better also if it has a product also a web review snippet, apart the classic aggregate rating, pricing, stock, etc., etc., etc. But you can use also to eventually say, Google, the review is not on my site, or you can embed the video of this external creator review on your product page, asking obviously the permission to use it, and you can target it, and you can use it as a review. It's not necessarily a written review. And obviously, we did the name entity, entity recognition, so entity search. And StarWars.com is really nice in this sense. It has a really cool taxonomy, for start. But when, for instance, you click to anything in Google Star Wars, always pay attention to the related. Because the related, what we do is, these are the things, so entity, things and entity are synonyms, that are related to the planet Alderaan. If you know the topic, and for this reason, I'm going to content now, for this reason, we should always hire people that really knows what we are going to write about, and not people that are really able to discover what they are going to write about searching on Google. We can easily find all the connection. Remember the definition of ontology, concept, then, and the connection between concepts. So these are the connection between the concept. And if the writer really knows the topic, if we give them this sort of map, they can write this thing. So this is a content based on both connection. And this is working because I fed the natural language API, cloud API of Google with that content, and it's certainly giving me almost a 1 in the category movie, science fiction, and fantasy film. Because Google really, the algorithm really understood that I was talking about Star Wars. Because of all the connection of our content was written with the entities that are pertaining to the domain Star Wars, and now they are connected between them. This is important because what is the most important on-page SEO ranking factor now? It's not keyword. It's not the title tag, even also because Google changes. It's not how many times you are using the keyword inside the text. It's entity salience and the context. Let's say that we are via e-commerce, we are doing the example of. We receive a really, really generic description. How can we really optimize using entity salience? Because this description, if we use this text we see below, is a description that could work really well for, you know, Disney Plus, to describe a character of a series of The Mandalorian. Instead, using the first common content, but adding this one with precise entities, we are really telling Google and people that we are talking about the same character, but for the game of Star Wars Legion. Pay attention to this ambiguity, because an apple is an apple always, but it can change name. And the word of Star Wars is Darth Vader. Everybody in the world, I don't know, in France, how you call it Darth Vader? Is Darth Vader? Okay. In Italy was Lord Fener, because it was sounding more fascist. The work we did, consider Google is not just text, and search is not just on Google search. The work we did is so cool because it also gives us a way to optimize for visual search. We did all that work of entity and relationship through embedding so that, for instance, what kind of related product we can recommend within this image. The work can tell us that the closest entities to this, for instance, this Stormtrooper uniform is a bag. So we can create an image with a Stormtrooper with a bag. So Google Lens, in this case, will recognize the two objects, so the people that are, okay, buying a Stormtrooper uniform is not really for me, but I really love this bag. So tap on the bag and go on the bag results page, and we should pop up there as a search results too. But this is also a cool way to do all the related products to suggest in a product landing page, in a product description page. But also for things like, you know, new ways to use visual search when you're searching for a dress and say, okay, Google, show me this dress in pink. Because the analysis we did using image tags also was telling us what are the attribution. Colors are attribution. And all these things, as you can see, can be done with really, really looking at the search results pages. I mostly haven't used any tool for this thing. I can use tool to make this faster, but I didn't start from a tool. I started from Google. Also because substantially no tools are allowing us until now to do this kind of analysis. And obviously we need to really know, and this is something we should do before starting, what is about the topic. What is the business of our client, of our website, to be really expert. Maybe this is the secret of the E of expert. And post-credit sequence. When we are analyzing the search, especially when it comes to product, it changes a lot when the shopping graph. But there are these two, expert review and video, and also top consideration, that are still coming up. And this is really cool for starting planning, outreach, link building, co-marketing, digital PR, whatever you want to call it, strategy. Because these are the website and the true influencer that we want to target because they are appearing on Google. So if people are searching on Google and ends up on clicking on a video, let's make that the video is talking about us. And we can do it targeting this website and not just a DA86 website. And this is all. Okay, so it was clear. I think the answer is clear. So this is for the fastest one. Hey, no, at 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So what is more important? Okay. Have you any question or very special question or not?
Maybe one. If you have some question, just one, please, and you can see maybe after this.
Okay. Any question? Curiosity? About many painting? Okay. Okay, there is one question here.
One really quick question. In one of your slides, there was a screen with a confidence score. What should
the confidence score was the one by the... Yes, it is a metric that is giving us, I think is... I go really fast, eh? I think it's this one. This is the confidence. Is a metric that by the natural language, the cloud natural language API of Google. It's the confidence is from 1 to 0. The closest to 1 is 1 is the highest confidence that this text is about this category. The farthest from 1 is this text is not about this topic. And you can use it also for image, for instance. If you use the visual search API of Google, it's the same metric. Thank you.